Hey guys, so in today's video we are going to discuss the concept of double entry system. Okay, so I'm going to start with the basic accounting principle, that is that for every debit there is an equivalent and corresponding credit. Okay, so we'll come to this later. Okay, I'm going to give you a situation. Now imagine yourselves to be an accountant of this company ABC Limited. So what happens over here is that this organization, this business enterprise carries on multiple transactions on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so certain transactions may be financial in nature and some may be like non-financial in nature. But now you're the accountant of ABC Limited. So your duty is to record the transactions that are of financial nature. Financial nature as in the transactions for which you can find out the money value. Okay, say for example, you have bought machinery of say like 50,000. So you know this transaction is a monetary transaction because money is involved in it. Okay, so let me just write it down for you. So this is business enterprise. ABC Limited is a business enterprise and it carries out multiple transactions day-to-day basis on a day-to-day basis. So now these transactions can be of two types. Okay, it can be monetary transactions or non-monetary. Okay, so now as an accountant, you're going to deal with monetary transactions. Monetary transactions are those for which money value can be ascertained. Okay, now since transactions are happening on a day-to-day basis, and since it's happening on a day-to-day basis, the number of transactions also are going to be huge. So on a large scale, since the business is operating on a large scale, there are going to be various and several transactions happening. So the very first duty of the accountant is to identify which transactions have to be recorded, and then the process of recording those transactions is called bookkeeping. Okay, now since these transactions are happening on a day-to-day basis and on a large scale, so you're going to record all these transactions. Okay, so the next process is called recording. Okay, you're going to record all these transactions in a journal. So now to record the transactions, now how a transaction is going to be recorded. Okay, so to record, you need to follow a particular system. So that system is called double entry system. Okay, this system has no drawbacks. It has no drawbacks. Scientific. It is scientific and it is complete. Okay. So now we'll come to the double entry system. It has two aspects. The first one is the receiving aspect. Next is the giving aspect. Okay, and it's not all. Okay, so there are two aspects, the receiving aspect and the giving aspect. Okay, now this receiving aspect and this giving aspect, how are you going to denote it in the books? So you're going to denote it using the words debit and credit. Okay, that is DR and CR. Now on their own, inherently debit and credit have no no meaning to itself, but they derive the meaning. Okay, so you're going to use the words debit and credit. Okay, so what does debit denote? So we're going to learn what debit denotes in the books. Okay, so now this is a very, very important part in accountancy, and if you if this concept is become very clear to you, then you'll be able to record any kind of transaction that happens in a business organization. Okay, so that is debit. So whenever there is an increase in assets, or an increase in expense, you'll debit, or if there is a decrease in liability, or if there is a decrease in capital or decrease in income. Okay, and credit denotes a decrease in assets, a decrease in expense. I think by now you'll know what's the next thing. An increase in liability, an increase in capital, and an increase in income. Okay, so there are like 5 elements in accounts, that is assets, liabilities, capital, income, and expense. So whichever transaction you want to record, it will either fall under any of one of these 5 elements: assets, liabilities, capital, income, and expense. So whenever any transaction has to be recorded in the books, it will fall under either of these elements. Okay, and so if you learn this, you will know which part of the transaction has to be debited and which part of the transaction has to be credited. Okay, that's it.